Yo, GD here, Charles, and as you can see by this video here today, not really going to be about the gameplay in this one. This is me actually going to be talking about F1 2016, the game, because it's been out for a few months now, and I felt this was a good time to really just dissect the game of what I really think of the game. I know I did an F1 2017 future video or future recommendations for that game, so this is going to be a little bit different. This is mainly just focusing completely on this game that we have had this year, which I went and tested earlier in the year as well. So we're going to be talking about that, the things I love about this game, but also the things I feel that really need to have been changed in this game. I'm going to be quite critical on this because there's just a few things I'm just quite frustrated on, really. I've had enough time now to really play it online competitively, which is mainly what I do when I play F1 games. I mainly play it for the online purpose rather than the offline features. So that's something I'm really going to dig into. But firstly, starting with the positives, I think the handling this year has been a major step up. It felt really good when I went there in the testing back in March earlier this year. It felt absolutely amazing. They did change it up for when the game actually did come out. I felt it had been made a lot easier when the game had actually been released, more going back towards F1 2015, but I still feel it was a big step in the right direction. So the handling's really good. I really like the traction of what you have to be like, how delicate you have to be on the throttle, and then the braking as well. Braking I would like to see a little bit harder than what it is, but more like a 2012 kind of braking would have been really good. But I'm a big fan of that. And the wet driving I feel is the best it's ever been in an F1 game, hands down. That's something that just does not need to change, is the wet driving in the intermediates. And then going to the wets, I feel it's almost perfect, pretty much in terms of the difficulty and the lap times in between. I feel that is really good. Another good thing is the career mode. That's definitely been a big step up and compared to recent years. I think probably the best career mode there's been probably since F1 2010. I'm probably not the best guy to ask on this. It's probably a team at Marduk or Arava. They're probably the best guys to ask in terms of career mode, but I've been playing it this year and you really do get a sense of immersion going through 10 seasons, the immersion factor of it, being in the paddock and doing the R&D, which is really good as well. I think that's definitely something that is pretty good. The only negative I would say about the career mode is that I feel it's a bit too easy to really upgrade your car. So you could actually start in the manor, and then you could probably win the championship in the first season in the manor. You can just really build up your car pretty quickly and actually win. So I feel it's a little bit too easy. I think it should be quite a bit more difficult than what it is. But I feel they're definitely going in the right direction in terms of the development and updates and everything. And another thing as well is the ultimate AI difficulty. I feel that's really good. It's something that's quite a big challenge to go against, especially at the start of the game. I couldn't even beat the ultimate AI in qualifying. That's something I could do. I can do it now. I'm relatively comfortable, but it's still, for the average player or someone who maybe is not quite as experienced, it's a really challenging thing. And personally, that's why I didn't really play career mode in previous games, because I felt the Legend AI, I think that's what it was before Ultimate AI, was just a bit too easy. It was a lot, it was really easy to beat it. The AI is not perfect. They still break and slow down, and you can just deter them off. If you just do a little defensive move, they'll just completely stop the car. And they do take you out as well. Sometimes they do just turn this to the rear of your car. So that's not perfect, but I feel it's definitely going in the right direction. And I can imagine how hard it is going to be on a racing game with so many different factors and everything. It's kind of hard to make it perfect, really, unless you're racing people online. So I do sympathise and understand that. But it's definitely a big improvement on previous games for me. Another thing is the customization, so the helmets, I feel it's a really nice feature, doing your own character, your own race number and stuff as well, and having your own gamer tag actually appear in the pit board above your garage online. I feel that's just a small feature, but it's really cool. The only thing I'd say with the helmets, I feel like maybe you could actually design your own patterns for the next game. So now we've got this segment actually added in. Maybe next time we can actually, do our own patterns, actually move around, like the shapes and everything in the helmet, to really give it a more of your own customized kind of feature of it. I feel that would go in the right directions. I just feel it's a little bit limited sometimes. And sometimes when you change the colour, you can't get it back to directly touch the black colour, the first colour you used, if that makes any sense. Which is kind of frustrating, so you have to like reset it again. So I think little details added into that would be really good, along with the character. That's really cool as well. And the camera angles this year, being able to change it and stuff. I personally haven't actually changed it. I just use the default, but seeing other people use theirs, it really just allows the player to just drive how they want to drive at the end of the day. And sorry if you can hear the hoof in my background. My mum's actually doing that downstairs in this video, so sorry about that. But moving on to the negatives of this game, or sorry, actually another positive I would say is the corner cutting system. I think the corner cutting system is pretty good for the most of the time. When you do go off the track, it will recognise it. There are some corners on the game where you can go off the track and it won't recognise it, so it's a little bit inconsistent at times, but overall I feel they've done a pretty good job. A few blips here and there, but that's something I'll talk about in the later part of this video. But moving on to the things that frustrate me about this game, and as I said, I'm more of an online competitive player, and for me this game, it's hard to not be really critical here, but it's really frustrated me online, if I'm being completely honest. I'm going to tell you how it is for me. I feel really frustrated online with this game, and the number one thing is the slipstream, which we've covered, and I know they know about it, and the reason why it's in it is because of the AI in career mode. So that's something that cannot be changed with a patch, because it will just completely change like the dynamics of the game. For me, slipstream is just way too powerful, and I feel it kind of kills the skill involved in driving between drivers, because you can be driving much better than someone else, but you just can't pull away from them. You can't. It's like a caravan being towed behind your car, as the Hoover starts up again. But yeah, it's like a caravan being towed behind your car. You just can't get rid of it, and it is just incredibly frustrating, especially in a league race scenario where, you know, when you've got to have someone right behind you the whole time, you can't shake them off. You know, it can really just kill your race, and I just feel it just really destroys the skill gap between drivers, because in the beta before the handling was changed, I feel there was a huge skill gap between drivers, and I think a lot of people were quite scared about that when they saw that on the leaderboards, and a lot of people when they opened beta kind of complained about that the handling being too difficult and this and that, and I feel that's the reason why they've really minimized it and really made it a bit easier. So next game, I think they're pretty aware of it, and I think they know how powerful it is. So going back to how it usually was, maybe in like 2013, 2012, I feel, even though it's still quite powerful then, you know, this game is not a sim game, but I feel it definitely needs to be toned down a lot. You know, it's great for the spectator, but for when you're actually driving, it really takes out the fun factor, really, like the sense of adrenaline in a way when you're racing in a league, or even just in a sprint mode, because, you know, you feel like you're putting in the performance, but you're just not getting reward for it, and it's super frustrating. Another thing as well, which I'm pretty sure they're aware of, is the contact model on this game, and this is something we couldn't really test too well when I was there in March, because, you know, we're racing against the AI and that, and we couldn't test the game online or anything really properly, you know. And with the contact model, it's good in a way that it's really punishing. You know, it really does punish you. If you have the smallest amount of contacts, your race could be over. And you could argue that's a really good thing, but the problem I have with it is that it's not really realistic, to be honest. You know, sometimes when you just tap someone just ever so slightly, it's like a pinball effect. So if you ever played pinball on a PC, or just, you know, that pinball machine or something, and, you know, or Sonic the Hedgehog, you know, when he hits those, trying to think what they're called, you know, those bouncy things, makes it go around. It's just the slightest tap, and zoom, you know, you're just going off at light speed. And that's pretty much what happens in this game. And I feel it just kills the online experience for me, particularly in racing and league racing, and also in sprint mode, because sprint mode is something I've absolutely loved doing in previous games, 2013, you know, 12, 11, all the games I've played, I've absolutely loved it. But I kind of falling out of love in doing that on this game, because it's a lottery really, and I feel that's the same for when you're racing in leagues as well. I feel it it's not really, you can't race wheel to wheel properly. The only time you can race wheel to wheel for me is in the wet. I think in the wet you can do it because it's at a much slower pace. People are a lot more cautious because it's in the wet, and I feel you can really do it then. But in the dry, when you're going a lot faster, like double the speed, it's the smallest of touches, intentional or unintentional, a little bit of lag in the game and stuff as well, and a little bit of a lag bubble or something, and you're just destroyed. And sometimes you hit the wall really hard and you don't get any damage, and then other times you just scrape it and you can lose a front wing. So I feel it's just a really inconsistent contact model, and I know a lot of people are going to be saying, well, yeah, it's great that it's like that, it really deters drivers from being a lot more careful, but in this game, you can't have that. People are going to be clumsy on the first lap. It happens in real F1. These are the best drivers in the world, and there's always normally contact on lap 1. That's just the nature of racing, competitive racing. That's something you're not really going to be able to stop, really, unfortunately. Even though it's a non-contact sport, there's always going to be rubbing in this. And I feel in real life, when that happens, nothing that much happens. But, for me, a contact model like 2013, minus the side pod glitch, minus that, if you could take that out of the equation, I feel is good. And I know people are going to be saying, well, you want it to be more like a sim. I don't, I've raced in real life and stuff as well. Of course, I want it to be realistic, but I also want to have fun. And I feel with this contact model, you can't really have fun online. I think it needs to allow a little bit of rubbing and racing, because then you can race wheel to wheel with people. And I just feel it's a bit too punishing when you're not even making a mistake and other people being clumsy and stuff as well. It just kind of really kills the game, to be honest. And that added on top with the slipstream, you could just sit behind someone the whole race. I just feel it really takes the skill out of the game, but just a bit of the fun factor online for me. It just makes it really unpredictable, and only in the wet you can really do it. So for me, F1 2013 contact model will be much better. It may not be completely realistic, which it's not, but it allows racing, and sprint modes would be a lot more fun as well. Because, just the smallest attach from some noob online or something, you're spinning, 30 times or something like that. So, really, I feel it just needs to be pushed back a bit. So it won't be realistic, but something that allows racing, allows actual racing. Another thing I want to talk about as well is the fuel of the car. I feel the fuel in this game is quite easy to save at most tracks. It's really easy to save. You don't lose it that quickly in rich, but in lean you can save a lot of fuel really easy. So I feel that needs to definitely be a lot harder to do that. And another thing, which is a huge thing for me, is the weight of the car during a race online. So I'm not really talking about sprint mode or everything. I'm talking about like league racing. So if you're, or even a career mode, or this applies to career mode as well. So if you're doing a qualifying, your car's going to be the lightest it's going to be throughout the race weekend or whatever. It's going to be really easy. The braking points. So if you're going to do a 50% race with 25 laps plus, or 100% race with 60 laps plus, you'd expect the car to, to feel a lot heavier, a lot harder to drive. You're going to have to brake. You're going to have to be braking, 20, 30 meters or more earlier, and you have to be turning in a lot more. And this game, it just doesn't have that online. It feels I'm braking at exactly the same spots as I'm doing in qualifying. The car feels light. It doesn't feel like a real weighted feeling to the car. So I'm braking at exactly the same place. The turn-in may not be as great, but I'm braking at exactly the same place. Lap times are definitely higher, but the car doesn't feel any different. It doesn't feel any weight to the car. And I feel the best game that did this was F1 2012. If you haven't played it, you should definitely give it a try. That game, and the 100% league race or not career race or anything, 100%, you were braking so early. You were braking 50 meters at times, and a brake marker board less. And that just really added to the immersion of the game for me, and really, again, the skill factor between drivers really having to adapt. And that's if fuel went down in a 50% race, on 100% race. This is the same on 2013 as well. Not quite as strong as it was in 2012, but in 2013 it had a good balance of this as well. At the start of the race, the car feels really heavy. You can really feel the weight of the car, and you have to brake so much earlier than what you would do in qualifying. And it really was a skill to really just adapt to the fuel throughout the race, know how much later you can push, how much earlier you can go on the traction. I feel that really did separate the drivers. But in this game, the car feels the same to me. It feels really light, nimble. Even with 30 laps or something, it feels really easy, and the grip isn't really that much different. It's just the lap times that are different. The grip and the feeling and where you brake is no different to what you do in qualifying, which it takes out the fun factor again. And then if you add in the slipstream, I feel the game doesn't show the real skill drivers in the race, to be honest. And that's a shame. It's great for spectators because it's always going to be quite close because you can't get away from people and all this. But I feel taking those things out of it, not having what they had in previous games, it takes out really the immersion of when you're racing online. And I feel they really do need to focus the online for next game, definitely, because I feel that's a huge thing of the game. Career mode's great and everything, and I feel they've done a really good job on that and the handling and everything else. But I feel that part really needs to come back stronger for next game. Another thing as well is the unequal car pit stops and equal settings. And my question is just why? I just don't know why that even happens. I feel it should be exactly the same unless you're getting held up every single time. If you're racing in equal settings, it should be exactly the same. I don't see why there should be a difference at all, to be honest. That's something I just can't really get my head around. Another thing, which I mentioned in my other video as well, is the equal car characteristics. On every F1 game I've played, there's always been a difference between the engine cars. So a Mercedes car compared to a Renault car or a Ferrari powered car. In equal car settings, there's always been cars that the vast majority of people are said to be better, which are just easy to drive. Most of the time I feel you can do the same time in most cars. I don't think there's a huge difference in pace. 2012 there was definitely a difference in pace in the straight line speed between cars. Like the Sauber was the quickest, but then other cars were just a lot better in the corners. I feel that game was kind of unequal in a way in the equal car settings. But 2013, the cars felt different, definitely a lot easier to drive than others, but overall I feel the cars delivered a really good pace, relatively easy to drive. 2014, pretty similar as well. Well, in a way, the Ferrari powered cars were a lot more oversteery, but had a great front end, whereas the Mercedes powered, like the Caterham I drove in Season 9, which was probably a really stable, best, a really good overall car for me. So it's never been an equal characteristic between the different cars. That's something I want to get straight. But on this game, I feel I haven't seen a bigger difference in the equal car characteristics than I have on any F1 game. For me, I feel there's an absolutely massive difference. And as I said in my previous video, I still feel you can do the same time. I don't believe there's cars that are actually faster, so actually have more grip or straight line speed than any other cars. I don't feel there's a car that actually has that, but I feel there are definitely cars that are a lot easier to drive than other cars for me personally. And I've already covered that in my previous video, but giving you a quick rundown of it, I feel the Mercedes cars, powered cars, are probably in the middle. They're not the best at anything, but they're not the worst at anything. I feel the Renault powered cars are the most stable cars by far. I feel they're the easiest cars to drive, definitely. I feel it's the easiest car to be consistent in my opinion, and hook something up. And then the Ferrari powered cars, I feel it's got really good turning, really good reactivity, if that's even a word, but really good turning, sharpness to the car. But I feel the traction and the braking is just really unstable, and it's so easy to lose the car. It makes it so difficult to you to hook up something in that car. And yeah, I just feel even no matter what you change on the setup or anything, because trust me, I've tried, it's incredibly difficult. And I feel it's probably the biggest difference between equal cars I've seen on an F1 game personally, in terms of the characteristics of the car this game has the biggest difference for me. And I'm interested what you guys think. A lot of you guys had similar opinions before, but I'm also interested to hear what you think on anything I've said as well. For me, I feel they really need to focus on that being the same. If it's to do with maybe the wheelbase of the car, the chassis of the car, even though the codes may be the same, but maybe other elements make it, the characteristics different. I feel there needs to be a base car and just the exterior, literally the only thing that's different. That's what I feel that really needs to happen. Because to me, it doesn't feel like a placebo. If it is a placebo effect, then I've been fooled. But for me, it is so noticeable for me when I'm driving like a Renault or a Red Bull. It's so much easier to get on the traction. It's just so much easier. But my lap time's not faster. But on the Haas or the Renault, or not the Haas or Ferrari or Sauber, those cars, you can get the same lap time. I just feel it's so much harder to do that. For me, it's just so much harder to do that, and that's just me being completely honest. But moving on to other things, it sounds like I'm just going a bit of a rant, which I am, but I'm just trying to give you just a raw feeling of what I have in this game. Podium animations after the game. So you can't really show off your helmet online. You can't really show off your helmet unless you're recording a race or something. But even then, depending on what camera angle you have, you can't really see it. Podium animations after a race. So if you get a podium in a league race or online race, then you don't really see it. You don't see your driver or anything like that, which I think is a bit of a shame. And also with the tyre wear glitch, which is a video I'll be covering tomorrow or maybe the day after. I know Ciaru, who's a driver in AOR, he's done a test on this already. This is a really huge issue, and I won't really talk too much about it, but basically in a nutshell, if you start on the softer tyre, you'll go have worse tyre wear pretty much for the rest of the race. So if you start on the option tyre and then go to the prime, you have that degradation. But then if you start on the prime tyre and then go soft, your softs are going to last 3 to 5 laps longer than they would do if you started on them, if that makes any sense. So your tyre wear is going to be bumped up. You're going to have a lot easier tyre wear if you start on a harder tyre. But also as well, there seems to be on other tracks where this isn't the case. It's actually the opposite. So if you start in the prime, you actually get worse tyre wear. So it's just a major inconsistency. And in this game, particularly in league racing, and you could even say for career mode, it only feels there's really one strategy to use in the race. Because if you start on the softer tyre, you have to do an extra stop. If the guys behind on primes who qualified slower than you have a clean start, they're easily going to beat you because they're going to have better tyre wear than you. They can stop earlier than you or at the same time, and they're going to be able to do 5 laps more than you with a less stop. So, we've seen that in league racing this year, and I feel that's just quite unfair, to be honest. I don't mind it as long as the tyre wear is the same for both. So no matter what tyre you start on, it should be the same degradation for both, in my opinion. But I'll be talking more on that in a video tomorrow or the day after on Sunday or something like that. But overall, I feel it's a good game. It's definitely a big step up from F1 2015, in my opinion. But I feel the online side of it definitely needs to be improved for me. Particularly with having own lobbies set up and stuff as well, like your own online lobbies, which I know they're particularly aware of. And also with the prime tyre in league racing, or in you can even say it in career mode as well, you can only do one run on the prime tyres. So in options you get 2 or 3 sets, but you only get 1 set in short qualifying, and I feel there needs to be another one added in, because I don't know why that shouldn't be added in. In previous games you could do it, so I don't know why you can't do it now, unless I'm just missing the rules or something. But I feel you should have more than 1 set, because you only get 1 chance, and if you don't do that lap, or you just make a mistake or something, you can't show your full potential, which I feel is a bit unfair in a race. So maybe that's something they can add in, but let me know in the comments if I'm just completely wrong in that. But overall, that is just pretty much my review of this game so far. So please let me know what you think. I'll be talking to Codemasters in the private forums on their website, just pretty much saying this as well, and what I feel maybe could come in a recent patch or something. But for next year, I'd like to see these things definitely kept in, the positives, but also some of these things improved for next year, because I feel the career mode is definitely going in a strong direction, but I feel the online definitely needs to catch up with the offline experience for me, in my opinion, and particularly because I'm someone who plays that, and I know a lot of people do play that. You know, a lot of people love watching that. So apologies that this video has gone on for a little bit, maybe a little bit ranty, but that is just my honest opinion. I don't hold anything back or anything at all. I don't think anyone else has really said, you know, exactly their opinion on the game after a few months or anything. So that is my opinion on it. Let me know what you guys think, because I'll be posting this video in the forum, so this will definitely be included in the forum. So please let me know. And as always, thank you so much for supporting the channel recently. It's been incredible. This past month or a couple of months has been absolutely insane. So thank you so much, and I will catch you next time. Cheers.